So, how do planets get created? How are they born? Out of suns, and they are a smaller sun that comes out of the big sun, and then they are smaller. At the same time, they are like baby gods. They are have a very, very high. So that's the first. Is that the first form? I don't know, but it's the first form of a planet. So it's the first form of a planet at the highest at the highest level of dimension from planets, where they step out of for the first time out of non-form. So this amorph energy. So it's like the first form of a planet. So its template is, even though it comes out of the sun, and it's got all the DNA from the sun, all the information, and of course every sun, and it itself is a sun, okay? Of course, all the information of a sun, at some point, it came all the way from the grand central sun of the galaxy. That's where the suns come out of, and that's where all the rest comes out of. All the particles in the universe, not universe, in the galaxy come out of that great central sun. It's a portal to a higher dimensional galaxy. Yeah. Or perhaps just a higher dimension of that amorph soup, where it's the formless dimensions, the last three, as in the structure understanding of the structure of matter and soul. So existence, not matter, bodies, living life forms. Yes, life form and soul, because okay. Oh yes, that was the last three dimensions are non-physical, and that's according to I guess it's the emerald, based on the emerald tablets. It's chelontic science. It's also the science of the DNA, exactly, because that's matter, how it forms on that level of existence within that dimension. Yeah. And size, space-time vantage point. Yeah. So a little sun comes out of a bigger sun, and then that highest consciousness of a planet, however, never having lived before, so to speak, in that life form, never having descended through the dimensions available and then reascended, never having gone through that cycle, because it's like it's new. It's never that light, that consciousness cluster, never, that soul, it's like a sun soul, never took on a body of a planet before. So then the planet, wait, what happens? Okay, how does it get seeded? Exactly. How does it get seeded? So how does it form from a sun into an actual, like more, how does it densify itself, but then it has also all these different life forms on it, up until in the third dimension, all these infinite life forms on all these different levels, and we have the consciousness of them, all the elements in these different bodies. So we have the 5 elements, and then we have, from the bacterial level to the insect level to the animal level, all these blueprint templates that form. And this is geometry, this is sound, these are codes. Playing with matter, that's DNA. That's where sound gets informed. Sound comes into form. Sound even makes form. And that is, that's the path of the light, always coming through the heart center of the torus field. That is each life form's energy flow field onto itself. It is where, we are a whole onto ourselves. So that first torus is around our individual souls, and individual means not splittable, not dividable, not dividable. That's what it means. And it also means, when we say our individual soul, it means that aspect, that fractal of our soul, coming from the fractal soul body, from the fractal light body that we are, is a whole unto itself, and it has a unique mind imprint, mind conditioning, and a unique body form, a unique experience to all the other fractals. How the planet densifies, how it gets seeded. Okay, so yeah, what I got before, let's see how the dots come together. What I got before was founder races. These are beings, I was just shown how they are amazing with, okay, this is what was shown to me. So they are amazing with sound, with creating from sound. And what they're doing is they're pulling soul in, and they're like, through sound, they are weaving together the DNA, and they can exactly, they can connect with, they create the templates, the blue prints. They create the templates for the bodies. How do they create them? They create them, first of all, out of the DNA that grew on the planet. Who brought that onto the planet? So exactly, those are also the founder races. And I was going to say all the elements, so the I think 5 elements, maybe there are more, probably there are more, but okay, let's not go there. Let's stay with the 4 basic ones: fire, water, air, and earth, which is mineral. Yeah, okay. So these are all life forms. They have templates of their own, how they weave DNA. And that is, of course, not on the 3D level. Yeah. But it can reach down into the 3D level, exactly. But that's when the whole planet goes down into, that starts already. The DNA goes like all the way through all the dimensions back into, through the source, back, connecting into our, I say, all pure consciousness, which is in all life forms, whether they are aware of it or not. It's there, that never goes away, even when there is whatever, how much divide in the on the platform that they're perceiving from at the tip of the fractal that they are, of that soul, but it never goes away. Okay. How do the founder races create the whole kingdom, the natural kingdom, for example? How do they do that? How is that done? So I get with sound, that they change the DNA. Yes. And where do they get the DNA from? So um, what I saw before was that sun that came out of the sun, is full of code. It's full of code. So it's a huge portal, and it can draw in DNA and beings. Yeah, it can draw in DNA. It's already within itself. The code is already there. Uh, how does it come into form though? And that coming into form is its own sound. I'm getting it's its own sound, and of course that DNA, yes, also comes from the sun that it came out of. And the founder races work with that DNA that is on the planet. And now the DNA of the natural kingdom is, starts with the elementals, goes through all the elements, mineral, which is also all the metals. Yes, it's gold, it's zinc. I don't know that there's a whole template there of all the different minerals that are like not a mixture of minerals, and then plant templates, then insect templates, consciousness. This is all paradigms of framework where consciousness experiences itself through, and they move, and consciousness moves then from the many and the small, from the smallest into the big, and this is the light that also moves through, and becomes denser and denser and denser the higher it goes up and more complex and more data flow and so forth. The higher it goes up into complexity, into bigger life forms, literally bigger life forms. And so always until the royal, like the nobles, the on the very top of the frequency bandwidth of that template, um, when that is, when the whole template is gone through with, let's say incarnations of the what is at that level of existence the equivalent of a soul, it is their light spark. It is that's also soul, and it is the soul, of course, of the planet. These are the fractal souls of the planet. And at the top layer is like, okay, now every lesson that was possible within this template, every experience that wanted to be made, and it's like the whole template has to be kind of um, explored, and always the explorations push the envelope. Always they push the envelope within the template, of course, within the template. And so when that is full and fulfilled, those cycles have been experienced, then comes the noble expression, the noblest, the most complex expression within that template possible. And that's called royalty. And then, like, for example, what's royalty in the kingdom of insects? I would say praying mantis, the big grasshoppers, the biggest ones, really, the biggest insects. I don't know if all of them, I don't know if a cockroach can be royalty. I don't know, but let's not go into that detail. All right, and then the next is the animal kingdom, the biggest animals, cetaceans, so definitely cetaceans with the biggest brains, elephants, apes, these are the highest intelligent and closer to understanding and having like an ability to share, but also canines, dogs. Oh yes, dogs, absolutely. And especially dogs, because they also spend a lot of time with humans, because the next template from the animal kingdom, after royalty has been experienced, then um, that soul, that group soul, and these souls are also all fractals, the way that the animal, those kingdoms, they also are full of the fractal souls, obviously, and the same kind of I don't know if it's the same because it's a different template. It's probably different numbers and patterns, but it's still also this fractal template. And so the soul, so let's say the soul that was in a whale, and now we're talking on a brand new planet, baby planet. The soul that was in a whale, for example, or the soul in yeah, I heard the dinosaurs, they were huge, but they didn't have big brains or something. I have no idea. I don't know if, yeah. But I do think it has something to do with the size of the brain. Although you never know. I mean, birds can be extremely, yeah, but then they are also in the not hive mind, but they have a flock mind, and it would be more difficult if they come from a that's why the eagle is not there's never a flock of eagles. The eagle doesn't have a flock mind. That's why the eagle is royalty. Yes, he is royalty among the birds. That is true. But whether, anyways, we're going too far into the details now. Um, then it's anyways, it's not just one soul it's a probably, yeah, more than one soul complex that then is ready to merge, or if it's one soul, one animal soul, that it is ready to make that step into a humanoid template, because that consciousness, that soul and consciousness, is now ready to experience itself at the next higher template. It's like an octave, and it is a different dimension as well. And okay, so this is what I saw, which made me want to record this, because it was like, oh, again, it was like, of course it has to be like this. So at that stage, it's the other way around. Um, what is the founder races seeding the planet? All right. So what is it that you got? I'm just give me a moment to get it again. So that soul is now ready, waiting to, so to speak, for a body template, for a body. Hmm. And there's two ways. There's incarnation, but for incarnation, you need to come through two bodies that are already. in that density. Mm-hmm. Ah, this is what I saw. I think this is what it was. So, two gods, so let's just call them Godhead consciousness, the consciousness above Rishi consciousness, or the consciousness that creates, that is at that level, that we call the gods, or yeah, like Zeus, we called that's someone who was called a god. I don't know if these are real gods. Let's just say that there is a level of consciousness that we would call, yeah, not everyone called them the gods necessarily. These are light beings. Oh, now I'm off. Because of the terminology, it's so difficult to use that word God, because God is everything. So, and we're talking about now form, we're talking about specific life forms, and so how can we call that God? I always have a problem with that, my mind does. And so let's just say exactly consciousness at the height of 13th, like 13th dimensional, or if it's just 15 dimensions and the last three are amorph, then 14 dimensional consciousness. Okay. Yeah. uh, Humanoid forms in 14th dimensional consciousness, embodying 14th dimensional consciousness. Okay, so good. So let's say there's a pair, a man and a woman, come down onto this new planet of 14th dimensional consciousness beings. And it works because that the planet is still, when it was just born, in 14th dimension, and it's more like a, is it more like a sun? The sun on the 14th dimension doesn't look like a sun from our dimension. From our dimension, the when we look at the sun, it's like it has no surface, and it's like a shining light. Just it's like a shining light, and it's not like when we look at Venus or Mars or the other planets. There's a difference between a planet and a sun. So, but at the 14th dimension, of course, they don't experience it like that. Okay, so they could actually go onto that planet, and when they would then have a baby on that planet, so their DNA was going into the 14th dimensional body of this baby. But then guess what happens? Just like Franco de Nicola says that in since I don't know since how long, this is how it is on our planet now, is that there is a, like, I don't know if it's all of them. Is it all of them? Okay, let's not go into that. Let's just say it's most of them, because I'm not 100% sure if it's all of them or not all of them. So let's just say most of them, there's a galactic soul and there's an earth soul. So the and they merge, exactly. So there's a soul that was never on earth before, but of course there are also those that have come in as a galactic soul, maybe um, hundred thousands, maybe even years ago, for the first time, and then they've been within the recycling. Yeah, on the recycling band, within the reincarnation cycle, for thousands of years. But originally, let's say before Earth, their soul, there was that galactic soul, and then the Earth soul, which was in the bodies of the parents. But now we're going back to the very beginnings of planets in general. I'm just looking at this. I have never been here before. So far, I've never gotten this far. Um, okay, when they have a child, it merges with the soul from the first time. This is the first time from the lower template, the earth soul that is now ready to inhabit for the first time a humanoid template. These are the beginnings. The very beginnings. Yeah. So those two souls merge. The 14th dimensional couple, by the way, they came from, yeah, they're definitely, they came from a planet that is a like a family planet. That's a very close planet. I don't know if they came, possibly they came from the mother planet, from the planet that, from the sun, that the sun came out of, from the, well, the sun would be higher in dimension. Exactly. The sun would be higher than the 14th dimension. Okay, this is too complicated, right? Yeah, no, I'm not going to go into that. But they, let's just say they came from somewhere else, like a close planet nearby that's also 14th dimension, or who knows where they came from, you know? I mean, if they're 14th dimension, they could come from another galaxy, they probably have that ability. Um, so, but this would definitely be all in, because then they were somehow related. This is all done through within, from the soul consciousness, from the inner connection, from the heart connection. There's some reason, okay, what draws which beings to a planet, even to seed it for the first time. And then the yes, that soul that ran through, exactly, that came, let's say, out of a whale, for example, when it merged with the galactic soul of that child. Um, where did the galactic soul come from for the child? From where the father and the mother came from? Yes, most likely. But it could also come from any other planet. Oh yeah, I guess. But it would all be very consciously, it would all be like orchestrated to the founder races. What happened to the founder races? These are the founder races that have these first children. And how can they actually create species? And this is what they do through sound. Through sound, they can open and lock DNA, close DNA. So they can say exactly, they are the ones that set up, that's what I got before. They are the ones that set up, and these are like such high, like, I don't know at what level are they. Let's just say 14th dimensional consciousness, yeah, beings. Maybe they're even higher, 15th, I don't know. But do they have a body? Founder races? Yes, they have a body. So then that means they're probably 15th dimensional beings, but their body is in the 14th dimension, something like that. And they through yeah, they close and open, and they can say, okay, these are the blueprints. So we want DNA from, let's say from a wolf's DNA, we want in this part of the template taking care of this work. It's like a huge immune system. It's a one system working together as a unit, like anybody is that kind of a world unto itself, a universe unto itself, a planet unto itself. And the founder races, they take, um, they can. It can take what's there and mix it through sound. Mm, they can mix it because their code will have an influence on the embryo, how it forms. Yeah, so it can create animals. It can create. They can mix and match. Kind of like that. And then at that point, when the animal templates are ready, when the royal animal templates, when the soul is ready to move on, it moves on into the body of that earth soul, yeah, and merges with the body. Mm. Merges with the other galactic soul, yeah. So it's the same like now, except for now, you see, that's a new race that was created. We call it humans. So, founder races, gods, whatever, let's not use the word gods, okay? Founder races. Or, when the gods walked on the earth. Some have also other names like da da da, Fim, those names for them, for this kind of thing. And so over time, this created a whole new human template. I mean, these two never had come together before, these DNAs. Actually, yeah, there's the body DNA. This is almost like three then. The physical DNA from the parents that come from a different planet, then the soul, maybe coming from the same planet like the parents, probably, and then merging with the earth soul, creating a completely new being, human being. And that's a new template. Now, the founder races, they say that they were so and so many. And I think that depends on how far back you go. Because there's always these cycles, once a planet is born, goes through the cycles all the way into density, like Earth is now in her deepest density, maybe that she's ever been before. But it is fifth Earth. So we don't know. She could have been low before and ascended. She could have already gone through a whole ascension cycle because that's really, not a whole, no. Uh-huh. No. Okay. Mm. Because the whole ascension cycle, descension, ascension, in the end, it leads to dissolution of form, death, if you so will, but it's not. It's just dissolution of form. And as we know, energy never gets lost, just as consciousness never gets lost, can get lost. It can only be, awoken to or awoken to. Yes, it can only be recognized, realized, and awoken to. Yes. So the dissolution of that form, it means on the other side a new form is born. This is the cycle through the templates. Yes, but perhaps she descended all, maybe not all the way as deep as now, and she went up, maybe not all as high as she did before, but then she went down again. You see, and this would be then the curve, the traveling of, just like the traveling of the photon, the wave that is the particle at the same time flowing through time and space. And that way it is seen as a wave. That is the torus, where in the 0 point the light comes, the light comes through. But at the end of it, of every cycle, there is always the journey home, and the dissolution of the form that is the known form. Yeah. Okay, so maybe that's what they mean with fifth earth. I don't know. But let's continue. So, the human, okay, let's say that was the seeding of the human being. Mm. Because the human being is only on Earth. There are other humanoid beings, but on Venus, it's not a human being. It's called, I don't know, we call it Venusian. They probably have a different word for it. It's not called human. That is, and also, even though they may look so alike from us that we may not even be able to distinguish them, but we can when we see them. There's something that's different about them. There is definitely, okay, so humans only on Earth, a unique race. And then that continues. Yeah, that's how it is. The soul that comes from somewhere else than the planet merges with the soul that is the planetary soul, moving through all the templates. And just like, when the earth soul is so old and it has moved through many earths, and then come to the highest template within the human form. Royalty. What is the royalty template? What is the royalty template of? Oh my gosh, yes. What is the royalty template of Earth? What is the royalty template of Earth? The real meaning of royal is that the template is now, the consciousness has now reached the state of noble, and that also means that the physicality is noble. It is like at peak performance, and the heart is completely coherent. So the mind is clear and awake. So what is that? And okay, what are the royal bloodlines? I'm mixing it now with the library, that things I already know. Mm, not know, but that I have already put the dots together and seen. So the royal templates, what are they? What have we found out what they are? They are created by a human ascending their body. Yes, that's true. That's true. So that's true. And a human can it first ascend its body when it has a certain age? To what degree of ascension are we talking about? Exactly. Okay, so it is that is what they call the Christ, and that is the royal bloodline of Christ. But not just Christ as we know him, the historic figure of Yeshua bin Ben Joseph, or something, which means Yeshua, the son of Joseph. But there were many light beings that came at different times, different places, different cultures, that, however, came from the same paradigm as whom they call the Christ. And really the Christ is the maturity of the light body at a certain level of existence, at a certain dimension, at a certain frequency. And then certain abilities are come online, such as the miracles that Jesus performed, for example. And I always have to take the Jesus story because that's the only one I know about. I don't know so much about any others. So And also because they call him the Christ. Exactly. And why they called him the Christ is because he embodied that template. And he already did. Exactly. He already did. He was already the Christ when he was born. Christ is born. So he was able to take his consciousness through the portal, into the body of the embryo within this density. And that was possible because the parents, um, right, I already went through that whole story because that was it both parents? I don't want to go into that detail now, how Mary got pregnant and whether Joseph's seed was even used at all. I don't want to get into that because it would just take too long. We're already at 41 minutes. Okay, right. Royal bloodline. So high consciousness makes it into merges with the earth soul. Yeah, and then creates has a lifetime of an experience of severe compression, severe compression going down, getting, but because they're such light beings, they can handle, it doesn't pull them down that much, but it does. What it does is it pulls them to the edge of where they are doubting, where they may fall in frequency into where they may fall asleep, where they may believe something from there that their unconsciousness is serving up to them, where they may have formed some kind of identity, where they may have formed some kind of um, divide within themselves, and taken on that sense of separation from all that is, from God, through what they have experienced on earth in that time. And then comes, the initiation into the higher expanded, because that's also exactly what this lifetime was about, was to take the DNA and of the parents and lift that up, ascend it, so it has to ascend in a body. That means that a body must, within that lifetime, um, embody a higher dimension. So that perhaps means that the dimension that they lived on, let's say third dimension, I'm still taking the Jesus story as an example. Um, that for the people that are still inhabiting the third dimension, they may not be able to see that being anymore after it ascended. Or maybe only for short periods of time when the being, um, when that being comes to them or is able somehow to, because that comes with the abilities of the Christ, is that is actually what they call the Christ. It's a vehicle. That is the Merkaba field. That is the Merkaba, the star tetrahedron, exactly. And depends on how fast that spin is. The top spin, according to the bottom spin, is at some point, okay, now it's online. Now the spin is so fast, it's online. It's fully established at that higher dimension. Um, and it is a dimension, it is physically embodied. The body didn't die, and then the soul is inhabiting that dimension again. This soul is kept its body and is inhabiting a higher dimension, and that is exactly what is happening now. That's why they say it is the Christ returning. It is the whole earth is ascending, is going up into a higher dimension. We are traversing dimensions. So the Christ, which is it's a level of consciousness, is being reborn in all of us. It's coming back. It's coming back in because our spin is increasing, because the light waves are coming in and they're at a very, very high spin rate. They're just, they're lifting everything up. So where was I now with the planets? Um, Ascending means taking your body into the royal bloodlines. Yes. So what would it mean to be in a royal bloodline? That is exactly what it means. Okay, so there used to be the royal bloodlines would be, it is the DNA that is from the offspring of two ascended beings. So let's say in this story, Jesus and Mary Magdalene, who was not a prostitute, by the way. That is just a twist of the storytellers, for purposefully twisted. Or they just changed names or something and never mentioned Mary Magdalene, his wife. So, and she was initiated as well, like he was. Anyways, so their children's offspring, that DNA is on Earth today, even though that it was tried to destroy them all, so that DNA line would be cut off. It of course didn't work, it didn't happen, and then there are many others, many other royal bloodlines. However, or at the same time, what is happening now is, regardless of whether DNA has a royal bloodline or not, because the whole planet is ascending, you don't need a royal bloodline anymore to give you that, to give you that ability, to give you that lift to ascend with your body. And that is the Christ returning. Because the Christ is returning to the earth. The earth is building its Merkaba field. That is coming online. Okay. Okay, so we were with the seeding of planets. So does that mean that there's always a galactic soul, always a soul coming in from a different planet that is merging with the Earth soul? Yeah. And it's also saying that the royalty, let's say the royalty before a soul is so great that it leaves the template of, let's say, humanoid template, and it goes into a higher template, which let's just say, I don't know if this is true, but like luminary dragon templates, that live in a way higher dimension, maybe even in a different galaxy or something, a galaxy that is the whole, where the whole galaxy has ascended, something like that or so. Is there within our galaxy a template that is higher, that builds upon that is more complex, that is more, yes, okay, yeah, so whatever that is. But what happens when a human soul is fulfilled, is ready, so that's really, really, really old. And that, of course, um, corresponds also with the galactic soul. Yes, the galactic soul that came in. When the galactic soul, which is, as Franco de Nicola said, is it's the driving force. It has like it's like the earth soul is more, it's the body, yeah, it is the body. It's like the soul of the body. Yeah. it's way yeah, it's very 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 earthy. It doesn't know anything else than the earth, you know. And however, at the same time, it also grows through the merging with the galactic soul that brings in that galactic DNA, and that memory is recorded within that human soul, even if in the next incarnation that earth, sorry, human soul, when I say human soul I mean earth soul, that earth soul could merge with again a different galactic soul, right? And so all of that also gets encoded into the earth soul. So the earth soul also expands and matures and grows older and wiser and all of this until when it reaches like a point of saturation. That's also when a galactic soul would come in. And mind you, a galactic soul, like I said before, you know, can come in like for the first time now into a baby, or it could have come in thousands of years ago and totally fallen, you know, fallen asleep here in the dream and got caught in all these wipes. Every time it goes through the loop of recycling of reincarnation, there's another memory wipe, there's another memory wipe, there's another memory wipe. So depending if you know how low it might have fallen, this soul that was originally a galactic soul merging with the earth soul, um, it could forget about being a galactic soul even after death, you know, in this Bardo realm, depending on how many lives it already lived, depending on how much trauma it experienced during those lives, which dimmed its light, which lessened its capacity for um, connection and for data processing, and which fell asleep too. Exactly. So it may not after its death. Ah, because when it dies, yeah, when the soul, how is that? When the soul dies, it wakes up at the level where first of all it came in, so it was at a certain frequency level when it came in, within of course the bandwidth of the fourth dimension, because that's where the recycling happens. That's the Bardo realm also within the fourth dimension. Um, and it's a realm on Earth. Earth still inhabits the fourth dimension, but not much longer. Is what I'm getting. Yes, not the lower parts of the fourth dimension. Yeah, I mean it's also it's the tendency is, you know, it's gonna go, and that's, you know, and it's not like a huge amount of time until it's gonna go. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah, so it came in, it goes out at the level of consciousness that it went in, however, plus the expansion it experienced in that lifetime. However, in that lifetime, the soul may have not experienced expansion. It might have experienced, if it's a descending soul, if it's a soul that wants to go deeper into density, into density, yeah, um, and deeper in dimension. Not dimension, because we're talking about within the bandwidth of a dimension. Yes, exactly. Third dimension. Yeah. Um, so it may, when it dies, actually have a lower frequency, have dipped lower in the fourth dimension than where it was before. What dreams may come is a wonderful analogy to this, you know, because you know, if someone dies when they're like feeling really awful or so, they may still hang out in those frequencies for a while until someone comes to remind them of the light, you know, because they're stuck in their own minds. Yes. And then once they're reminded of the light, then they can also choose. First of all, they heal and everything on that level, and then they can choose to reincarnate again. The fifth dimension for a long time just wasn't available on Earth. This was the game. And so if you didn't make it when you went into 3D Earth, if you at the end of it were not embodying at the level frequential wise of the fifth dimension, then you would go into the fourth dimension. And now what I'm getting, however, is that it's only at a certain frequency where, and that of course also has to do with the maturity of the Earth soul paired with the maturity of the galactic soul, because also the galactic soul has an age and comes from a certain planet or star system. Is it the first planet? Because what I was going to say was when the two of them ran through enough experience on one planet, it's ready to go to the next planet. It's ready to move on, that soul. And is it really the two of them, or is it the Earth soul that is ready to go? Okay, so I'm getting it doesn't matter, because the galactic soul that came from a higher dimension, as far down as it could reach, and that's usually just a certain bandwidth that we can reach down, and as it was also with Mary and Joseph, they were able to reach up as well. They were much, much higher, and that's why they could give birth to such a high being. Okay. Was it possible? Yes, it was. Okay. So it has been, and it is anyways now, but it also was in the whole time of the prison planet. Um, it was always possible for galactic beings, if they didn't fall too much in density, that when their bodies gave in, to go back onto their ship or onto their planets. Yes. It is only that when they got too deeply lost, either that, but if that happened, that they did get too deeply lost in the 3D dream, that they got that they identified and they got traumatized, and so when they died, their frequency was lower, and so they then entered the so-called karmic cycle. They entered the karmic cycle because through trauma, through receiving trauma, you go lower to a certain degree in frequency. How is that, like with the karmic wheel, balancing out the karmic wheel? Yeah, so you see, it's always like on a certain level, it's always consciously chosen, because, who's the first? Who is the first? I did something onto someone, let's say, because my consciousness fell so low. I need some water. Okay. Karmic wheel. Yeah, so I do something onto somebody else, and I inflict an injustice onto them, I inflict a suffering onto them. So now I'm bound to them. Because when I wake up from that dream, when I die, oh, it's not like that on that level. No. Karma has nothing to do with punishment. It has to do that you want to make it good. And when you're the one who does bad, it also has to do with, I want to be able to um, it actually has to do with that. First of all, you have to allow yourself to be inflicted upon. You have to allow yourself to, you have to make a contract with another soul to say, I will allow you to do this to me, so that I can even go deeper into duality, into being, having the sense of being split off from myself and from God, from my soul and from God, from the life within me, you know. And why would a soul want to do that? Because that is how a soul creates expansion. That is how a soul um, ascends. I want to say ascend, because ascend is always with the body. That is how the template is grows. That is how existence grows, through compression and then that much more expansion.